The day has finally come for the Calm Day Rewind, so we're going over 2023, as well as the Calm Day Classics and 2022 movesets. What are going to be the best placings for all of these Pokemon? What are you going to do best with them? And how do we function with all these Pokemon in Pokemon Go? Because there is a lot of moves and a lot of things to cover. So with all that said, let's get into the details. Welcome to the Trader Club. Here we go. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's start off with Chespin, going into Chesnaught that gets Frenzy Plant. In the Great League, Chespin is ranked 64 with the Frenzy Plant moveset, and the IVs are going to be 115-15. In the Ultra League, it's going to be ranked 94 with the Frenzy Plant moveset at a 115-14. And then let's see how it ranks up with the Grass, okay? So obviously on the top, we have Mega Sceptile, Kartana, Venusaur. Kartana actually beating out Mega Venusaur. That's so impressive. If we do want to see the Chesnaught, it's actually going to be ranked in the 15th spot overall, which will be above the Venusaur that's ranked 23. Pretty good there as a meta rate attacker. So budget attacker right there, and then onto the Noivern, coming from Noibat. And Noibat, although it is a cool Pokemon, it does get Boom Burst. It's a great looking shiny. It is completely irrelevant in every facet in Pokemon Go, which then leads us to the regular and the Galarian Slowpoke, which does go into Slowking and Slowbro in both of the formats. So as far as this Pokemon, just remember this Pokemon is going to be a mega evolved Pokemon in the regular Kanto Slowbro, which does look like pretty cool shiny, but most importantly, it is a water and a psychic type, so it does hold those two typings, which are unique and can very well fit into events. So while it's not the best meta rate attacker, as a mega level 3, it does function for this. But as far as PvP goes, it's completely irrelevant as well. Which then leads us into Togekiss with Aura Sphere, which notoriously Togekiss does do well in PvP. It's not great in the Great League, it's not super great in the Ultra League, but it does come through best in the Master League. Ranked 74 with Charm, Ancient Power, and the Calm Day move of Aura Sphere. And then if we do check it out as a meta fairy type attacker, it is actually ranked 5th overall behind Mega Gardevoir, Shadow Gardevoir, which are the top. Then we have Xerneas, Shadow Granbull, and only a few points behind the Xerneas is the Togekiss, with Charm and Dazzling Gleam. So looking at it right there, man, guys, this is already a pretty relevant Pokemon. If you can get some decent lucky ones and power them up for very cheap, it's better than the Gardevoir without the Shadow and the Mega form, which is pretty impressive there. Which then leads us into Delphox with Blast Burn, and as far as a PvP Pokemon, totally irrelevant, but as a fire attacker, it is not going to be featured on page 1. Obviously, we can see Mega Charizard Y, which we will talk about here. It is not going to be featured on page 2. It is actually going to be below the Blaziken, Delphox, Volcanion, Emboar. It's above the Charizard, though, and it is a meta rate attacker at 37. But if we do go back to the first page and look at the Reshiram at a 46, that's pretty impressive there. And there are some Shadow Pokemon in here. While they cannot be lucky and powered up for a lot less Stardust, there are some definitely more strong Pokemon here, including, let's point out, the Darmanitan at 38.51 in comparison to the Delphox at 37. It's still a decently relevant Pokemon, just not the best, and there are better Pokemon, especially if you're willing to pay premiums for that XL candy from raids for that Reshiram. Which then leads us to one of the coolest Pokemons in style-wise, another Black Dragon, Haxorus from the Axew with Breaking Swipe, which was the introduction of Breaking Swipe into the game, which now Mega Rayquaza has. The best ranking in the Master League is ranked 94 with Counter Breaking Swipe as the Calm Day move and Night Slash. And then if we do go see it as a Dragon type attacker, it is not going to be featured on page 1. On page 2, we have, I'm going to point out some notable Pokemon that are budget counters. Salamence right up there, very, very high, above Garchomp, Zekrom, Eternatus, really, really powerful. Then we go on to page 3, we are going to feature the Dragonite up there at the top, followed by Shadow Latios and Haxorus at 40.96, Dragonite at 41.33, and the Salamence is at 42.52. So as an attacker, guys, very, very strong. I actually was surprised because although there are a bunch of Pokemon above it, it still sits as a very powerful spot in the game. So definitely something that you are going to want to power up. I would suggest trading as many Axews as possible, trying to get lucky hundos, and then you can power them up for half of the Stardust and save Stardust. You can get 2 for the price of 1, even if they're 98% IVs. Which then leads us into the Poliwags, going into the Politoed and the Poliwrath. Poliwrath has actually become an absolute beast here with that counter moveset from the Calm Day in rank 23 with Counter, Scald, and Icy Wind in the Shadow and 30 in the non-Shadow, so very impressive Pokemon at 0, 14, 15. And then in the Ultra League, guys, actually in rank 3 overall, same exact moveset at a 0, 14, 14, but that's going to be at level 44, so you are going to want to check that out. And as far as the Politoed, it does not take the Calm Day move as the best moveset, but it's best ranked in the Ultra League at rank 65 with Mudshot, Surf, and Blizzard at 48.5 levels, so a lot of Stardust and XL candy for that one at a 0, 15, 14. So very powerful Pokemon right there for the great in the Ultra League. Those new moveset combination with that counter moveset to charge those fast has made that Pokemon an absolute monster to handle, which is very impressive. I I love it. And then we're gonna go into Greninja with the Hydro Cannon. Greninja is actually a very versatile Pokemon. It's got Hydro Cannon, Water Shuriken, and Night Slash at rank 54 in the Great League at a 3-15-12. In the Ultra League at a rank 49 with the same moveset at a 0-13-14 at level 41 with a little bit of XL Candy. And then as far as a meta attacker here, we are going to check this Pokemon out in the 10th spot overall at 37.57, which is pretty impressive, up there with the likes of a Shadow Gyarados, although it does get beaten out by Shadow Feraligatr and Shadow Swampert, Kyogre, Mega Gyarados. But just to note, at some point, I don't know if the regular Greninja will be able to turn into an Ash Greninja. That Pokemon is very, very powerful. Coming in next, we do have Vikavolt. That does get Volt Switch. While it's a really cool looking shiny, the best Pokemon for this one is actually the second evolution, which is Charjabug. Best rank in the Great League at a 31. Volt Switch, which is going to be the Calm Day move, X-Scissor, and Discharge at a 0-13-15 at level 38.5, which then is going to lead us into Conkeldurr. Conkeldurr does get Brutal Swing, which is an extremely powerful dark type move, but this is a fighting type Pokemon, so it does allow us to get the XL Candy that was previously extremely rare, so let's check it out. Best ranked in the Master League, no surprise here, Counter, Brutal Swing, and Dynamic Punch. And then if we do look at a top attacker from a fighting standpoint, on page number 1 it's not up there. We also have some Pokemon out there that are not out, but as far as a meta-relevant budget counter, Lucario at the top. The reason why I'm considering Lucario is because we've had so many hatch events, and we have had so many events, and we've been spawning in the wild, and eventually the Mega will come out. So while it is a little bit more premium of a Pokemon, basically the same exact thing as Conkeldurr at 39.36, which you can get from Calm Day, and it does an extremely good job, and it's 3 points above the Machamp, which was the previous Pokemon. And if we do look at where the Shadow Machamp sits on the first page at 42.72, when we do get the Shadow version of Timber, guys, the Shadow Conkeldurr is going to be very powerful, and it's going to be in the top 4 for sure, maybe even breach the top 3, which is something notable and why we should get that XL Candy as much as we can right now. And then finally, to finish off the year, we had the Quagsire, and we also had the Clodsire. Okay, so we have 2 Pokemon from the Wooper and the Paldean Wooper. While neither of these Pokemon are going to be meta relevant, let's check them out. In the Great League, we have the Quagsire at rank 17, Mudshot, Mud Bomb, and Stone Edge. It does not need the Calm Day move at a 0-15-14. And then for the Great League for the Clodsire, we also have Poison Sting, rank 19, Earthquake, Sludge Bomb at a 0-14-13. So extremely impressive for the Great League there, but that's all they're relevant for, which then is going to make us change into the Calm Day Classic. Starting off with number 1, we have Charizard, which can get Dragon Breath as a move, and it can also get Blast Burn. So you might as well evolve a Charmeleon into Charizard, get both of these movesets, which are going to be premium, and then you can decide later if you want to get rid of them. This Pokemon, Charizard, as a Mega Level 3, is extremely relevant because it can evolve into the Y, which is going to be a Flying and a Fire type, or the X, which will be a Fire and a Dragon type. So with 1 Mega Evolution, similar to as we do have the premium Pokemon, which are going to be the Primal Groudon, Kyogre, and the Mega Rayquaza that are able to boost 3 at the same time. This one cannot boost 3 at the same time, but it can boost 3 in general, which is very impressive. I love this Pokemon. As far as the Ultra League best ranked Charizard, 32, Wing Attack, Blast Burn. Wing Attack is going to be a move that needs an Elite Fast TM. Unfortunately, it does not come with the Calm Day, but the Blast Burn is a Calm Day move at 32, at a 0-13-15. And then if we do look back at the Fire type Pokemon, guys, remember, the Mega Charizard Y is going to be the strongest Fire type in the game with Fire Spin and Blast Burn above the Mega Blaziken. Mega Blaziken does outpace it if it does use Counter, but that is not going to be a stab specific move. Then if we do want to see where the Charizard sit, it's not going to be on the second page. It will actually be on the third page in the 27th spot overall. So it is a decent Pokemon, but it does have a Shadow. So just remember, guys, we do have Shadow Charizard that's ranked in the 12th spot overall with Fire Spin, Blast Burn at 41.63, which is very relevant. But just remember, guys, that the Shadow Pokemon do require a lot more Stardust than are the lucky non-Shadow versions, right? So we do want to take that in consideration and see if it is worth it for this one. I would prefer to go to other Pokemon as opposed to pay so much Stardust. You can get a lucky Reshiram, although yes, it is going to be a premium XL Candy. It can be lucky and power up for much less Stardust. And next we have one of my favorite Pokemon, which is going to be Blastoise. That does also have a Mega. Unfortunately, this is a single typed water Mega, and it does get outpaced by Mega Swampert, Primal Kyogre, and other Pokemon. But for this one, best ranked in the Ultra League at rank 60 with Water Gun, Hydro Cannon, which is the Calm Day move, and the Ice Beam. And it's going to be at a 0-12-15 at level 48.5. The one thing I am going to point out about the Blastoise is that if this Pokemon does get a different fast move, it could make it even more relevant at some point, so do not overlook that Pokemon. Which then is going to lead us into Mareep, into Ampharos. Unfortunately, this Pokemon as a meta-relevant attacker and PvP Pokemon is totally irrelevant. We can look over that, but it does have a Mega, which is an electric and a dragon typing. It's a dual type, it's a unique type. I like both of these typings. typings, and these are Pokemon that, while they are not relevant for some things, they are definitely relevant to have at Mega Level 3, multiple of them. So if you ever have an event where it's like, ooh, I want to get Raikou from raids, and then there's Axew spawning in the wild, boom, Mega Ampharos satisfies that. So that's why having multiple Mega Level 3s at all these unique typings that I point out will always serve you for gaining XL candy, which then is going to lead us into Mamoswine with Ancient Power. Unfortunately, Ancient Power does not really matter, but fortunately, Mamoswine is an absolute beast. Best ranked in the Master League at 25 with Powder Snow, Avalanche, and High Horsepower, which is actually the most meta-relevant moveset as well for that Pokemon, because if we do look at the top Ice-type attackers, we're going to see Shadow Mamoswine at 43.16, which is the best Ice-type in the game right now. And then also if you look at the regular Powder Snow and Avalanche at 37.07, the only thing above that is the Galarian Darmanitan, which is very glassy. We have the Baxcalibur, which is extremely rare, and the Shadow Weavile. And then if we do go to the ground typing, we do have the Shadow Mamoswine in the 6th spot overall, with Mud Slap and High Horsepower at 42.85. And then if we go to the second page, we have it in the 14th spot overall, Mud Slap, High Horsepower at 37.17, which is basically the same as the Excadrill, which is very impressive. And then let's not forget about the last Comday Classic Pokemon, which is going to be Tyranitar with the moveset of Smackdown. But this Pokemon is also a Mega, extremely strong, and it gets dual typing. So not only is it a fantastic dual typer, it's extremely powerful. Let's find out. Best ranked overall is going to be in the Master League, 79 in the Shadow, 84 with the non-Shadow, with the moveset of Smackdown, Brutal Swing, and Stone Edge. Very impressive. And then as far as a meta attacker, the Mega Tyranitar is going to be the 3rd best Pokemon overall in the Rock category, which having Stone Edge is pretty impressive comparison to Rock Wrecker and Rock Slide. Very, very, very spammy, easier, better moves to have than is Stone Edge, but it still competes up there. Rock Wrecker on that Shadow Rhyperior is very impressive to me. Then we have the Shadow Tyranitar, which is going to be down there with Smackdown Stone Edge at 40.79, which is being beaten out by Shadow Rampardos and Shadow Rhyperior, so we should point that out. And then the regular Tyranitar will be on page 2 at the 15th spot overall at 35.52. Then also if we go into the Dark type category, at the top is going to be the Mega Tyranitar, followed closely by the Shadow Tyranitar, and that is light years ahead of the Mega Houndoom. And then we also have the regular Tyranitar, which is basically the same exact strength as the Mega Houndoom, which is above now the Hydreigon, which we will cover later in the video. So that Brutal Swing on that Tyranitar, extremely impressive, which then is going to change us into our 2022 Comday moves, because we can get those as well. So I'm going to pause here, guys, and let you guys know, if you guys do want to evolve some of these Pokemon, there's a lot to go over. So I would say watch this video if you do have any of these Pokemon. Let's say I go through first Pokemon. Let's pause. Let's go search in our bag. Do we have this Pokemon? If not, you may want to make a list of Pokemon that you do have that you are going to need to potentially get, because then you'll have a list of the Pokemon that you want. Let's say it's Poliwrath. So Poliwag, you're very after Poliwags. You save all of them. And then you have other Pokemon like Tyranitar. You have 4 Hundos. It's not relevant in the Great or Ultra League, and you already have it all evolved. Then you just check that off the list. You don't even have to worry about, yes, you click on them, but if they're not shinies, you can just transfer them after you search 4-star through your bag. But the other thing I am going to note, that if you do go through this Pokemon, let's go once again to this Tyranitar, and you haven't evolved a Larvitar that is a Hundo and you meant to, make a folder for it and then save it in that folder, so when its Comday comes about, you don't have to search through your bag and go through all of it. This day is going to be very hectic, well, I guess 2 days, but you want to be as prepared as possible. Starting off 2022, we have Walrein, which actually gets 2 movesets. So while it is an Ice type attacker, it was very meta relevant, but let's see where it sits now. In the Great League, it's now ranked 83 for the Shadow, Powder Snow, Icicle Spear, which are both the Comday moves, and Earthquake. IVs are 0, 12, 15. Then we're going into the Ultra League at 47 for the Shadow and 50 for the non-Shadow, pretty impressive there, at a 0, 15, 15. And then in the Master League, 86 and 87 for Shadow and non-Shadow, which are pretty impressive. Then we're going to go into Jumpluff with Acrobatics. Unfortunately, this Pokemon is irrelevant, although it's pretty cool, which then is going to lead us into the Sandshrews for the regular and the Alolan, which take us both into the respective Sandslashes. As far as Sandslash, unfortunately, the regular Sandslash doesn't do well, but the Alolan does, with 67 with the moveset of Shadow Claw in the Shadow and 84 with the non-Shadow. Great League as 0, 14, 14. And then in the Ultra League, 90 and 109, but just beware that that one is going to be at a 0, 14, 15. And just beware, because Bewear is our next Pokemon. Funny how that worked out. I did not plan that at all. I promise you guys. I promise. But Bewear is the next Pokemon. I like it, but let's see where it ranks. Master League is the best rank for it at 118, which then leads us into the Alolan Golem with Rollout. Unfortunately, this Pokemon not super relevant, and as you saw in the Rock category, we didn't even see it pop up. We had the Rhyperior, we had other Pokemon popping up there, especially in the new Shadow forms of the Rocks, and this one already has a Shadow out and it doesn't sit in the top. So then we can take us into one of my favorite Pokemon, because it looks so good as a shiny, is going to be the Dino going into Hydreigon with Brutal Swing. Best ranked in the Master League, 30, and when I do say best ranked in one league, that means the other leagues were not sub 100, meaning they were over 100, and usually they're above 150 to 200 as far as the ranks, so they're not relevant. relevant for us to cover. The moveset is going to be Dragon Breath, Brutal Swing, Calm Day move, and Flash Cannon. And that Pokemon is an extremely powerful dark type attacker, as we did cover. It's pretty much on par with that Tyranitar with the Brutal Swing, Hydreigon, Bite at 41.64. The one thing I am going to note is that the Tyranitar with the Brutal Swing does not need the Calm Day move, which makes it even more impressive. And it's a dual typed, and while this one is a dual typed as well, the Hydreigon is going to be double weak to Fairy, so that's a little bit of a problem. Now we're going on to the Staraptor with Gust. Actually, this Pokemon impressed me a decent amount, and in the Ultra League at rank 23 in the Shadow form, Wing Attack, Fly, and Close Combat. Don't even need the Gust combat move from the Calm Day. And then we're going to get 77 in the non-Shadow, Wing Attack, Fly, and Close Combat at a 215-14, which then leads us into one of my favorite looking Pokemon shinies, which is going to be Obstagoon. Man, this Pokemon is so cool looking as a shiny. But in the Ultra League, it's going to be ranked 76 with Counter, Night Slash, and Cross Chop. Doesn't even need the moveset at level 42, so a little bit of XL candy at a 0-15-13, which then leads us into Chandelure with Poltergeist. Okay, so this Pokemon is going to be a brand new Shadow Pokemon. So very, very powerful Pokemon in the Shadow form. It is going to be a Fire and a Ghost type, not relevant in PvP, but that doesn't discount it. As far as our Ghost types, we have Mega Bayonet and Mega Gengar at the top. Obviously, the Mega Gengar is the strongest in the game, followed not too far behind, tied almost with that Mega Bayonet. We have this Shadow Chandelure, and it has Hex. It does not even have a Lick or a Shadow Claw move, and if it ever does get that, man, that Pokemon is going to be strong, but it's very impressive there. And that one is actually stronger than Gengar at the regular Chandelure at the 39.11 compared to 37.98, which is very impressive there. And as far as a Fire type attacker, as we did see the Mega Charizard sitting all the way at the top, we also have the Shadow Chandelure, which is sitting in the 9th spot overall with Fire Spin and Overheat at 42.98, extremely impressive there. And then as far as a regular Pokemon, it is pretty far up there. It's above actually Blaziken, Delphox, Volcanion, Emboar, Charizard, and Typhlosion. So that is pretty impressive. And then we do have the Gigalith with a Meteor Beam. That's completely irrelevant here, but maybe it will become relevant once we do get the Shadow. Who knows? We will see soon. But then finally, let's round this out with the Teddiursa going all the way into Ursaluna. Remember, in order to get this evolution happen at 2 p.m. on Saturday, all the way till 6 a.m., you will be able to do the evolution with the full moon. And then also from 2 p.m. on Sunday, all the way till 9 p.m., you will be able to do this. And it does get the moveset of High Horsepower, which has made a lot of impact, especially in that Mamoswine. But as far as the Ursaluna, with the High Horsepower, best rank actually 32 in the Master League. Tackle, Ice Punch, High Horsepower, extremely powerful, and the Shadow 35. And the one thing about the Ursaluna is that it does not get a ground fast move, which is a little bit problematic. But if we look at this Pokemon overall, we have Precipice Blades on the Groudon at the top, we have Mega Garchomp with Earth Power, Shadow Garchomp with Earth Power, then we have Mega Heracross, Earthquake, and then in the 5th spot overall, even though you don't see it on the double ground type, at 44.33, which is above the Excadrill, above the regular Groudon, and makes it extremely impressive. So that makes that Pokemon extremely impressive as a ground type attacker, and when, hopefully when, it does get a ground fast move, it will make it even more relevant in this game. So that's going to be it, guys. A lot of information. Make sure to sift through this video, share with anybody that you need, and I appreciate you guys tuning in as always. To all of my likers, commenters, subscribers, Patreon members, everybody takes their support, subscription, participation to XO. I'm going to see you guys out on the next video. Peace. I want to take this time to thank everybody who supports me in every facet. It means the world to me, and an extra special thank you to all my Patreons. I greatly appreciate the extra support to continue to allow me to pursue Pokemon Go full time, allowing me to create my daily video uploads in the most timely fashion for everyone's benefit. Plus, I get the amazing experience of sharing my creative processes behind the scenes and raiding all around the globe with select upper tiers. Thank you everybody for being a part of the Trainer Club. You all mean the absolute world to me, and I will see you guys out on the next video.